Well, you're watching a CNBC TV 18 special, Trumponomics. We've been in conversation with the former Indian ambassador to the U.S., Meera Shankar, about President Trump's speech before the U.S. Congress and the implications for countries like India. Meera Shankar, I want to now talk to you about what President Trump had to say on trade. He talked about the U.S. withdrawing from what he sees was the job-killing Trans-Pacific Partnership. He spoke about losing 1/4 of manufacturing jobs since the NAFTA came into effect. He talked about the trade deficit in goods with the world last year of nearly $800 billion. He brought up specific references even of Harley-Davidson, saying that foreign countries are unfairly taxing American products. I don't know if the reference was to India. He didn't name the country there. He ended by saying that he believes strongly in free trade, but also fair trade. How do you see trade negotiations and the current trade arrangements in this context? Because he's made it absolutely clear the current system will not do.
Well, he certainly already walked out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership and has said that he will engage bilaterally with countries there. Similarly, he has also made it clear that he is going to renegotiate NAFTA in a way that it can't continue in the existing form and that it must be more responsive to American concerns. The third question is, he has talked of China as a currency manipulator, but he didn't make any particular reference to China in the speech. In fact, the speech referred, to Harley-Davidson and the duties, which perhaps was a reference to India. Now, in India, if you look at our weighted average tariffs, they are lower than what we have bound in the WTO. So actually, we have reduced our tariffs below what we are internationally obliged to do in terms of our commitment in the WTO. And things like Harley-Davidson are seen as luxury or non-essential products. And we keep somewhat high tariffs on imports of automobiles and auto components, basically with a view to ensuring that when they sell in the Indian market, they set up at least assembly lines here and, manufacturing here, which has happened for smaller and medium range cars. And assembly lines have happened for luxury cars such as Mercedes or BMW. So for Harley-Davidson also to assemble in India would perhaps help them to reduce prices, because duties on components would be cheaper than the full imported product. But these are issues, which are both ways. For instance, I always said when I was ambassador there and in the US, and I used to talk about mangoes with a lot of passion, and most people would be pretty lukewarm. And I wondered why, and then I realized that the mangoes available in the US market were really terrible because they didn't allow Indian mangoes into the US market on phytosanitary grounds. There are many other areas where India has been seeking market access. So these issues probably will have to be discussed bilaterally, and there are forums to do so. There's a trade policy forum led by the USTR, which specifically looks at, such bilateral issues. And similarly, there's a commercial dialogue, a strategic and commercial dialogue. So there are a variety of forums where such issues are discussed. And I suppose this is something where we, would also have concerns on things like H-1B. So market opening or market access, there are issues on both sides, and those need to be discussed and resolved in a way which benefits both sides.
Well, we're only well aware of the Harley for Mango deal that was struck between India and the US. But from a largely geopolitical point of view, how do you see the world reacting to President Trump's speech? Because through the course of the inaugural address, he mentioned several times over that the obligation is to serve, protect and defend the citizens of the US, that he will not allow the mistakes of the recent decades define the course of America's future, that while we defended borders of other nations while leaving our own borders wide open, and that allies will see that America is again ready to lead. So from all of that, what he said today, what is the message that the world will take away? What is the message that allies will take away from a larger geopolitical point of view?
It's a bit contradictory because on the one hand, he's stepping up expenditure on defense and the security establishment. And on the other hand, he's talking of really not, getting involved in foreign entanglements. He has talked of respecting the choice of other countries to their own systems and America not seeking to enforce or push any system. He has talked of America seeking peace and harmony and respecting the rights of other countries, provided they respect America's rights. Also that America does not seek war, but if it is forced to fight a war, it will fight to win. So there are certain contradictory messages. Yes, certainly, the heyday of globalization and the Washington consensus of pushing democratic governments and open markets, I think perhaps may be over. And America is entering a period of protectionism where it will put its own interests first.
So in that context, then, let me ask you, if you're saying that there is a departure from the policies of the past and we're seeing a rise of protectionism in America, we also heard President Trump very clearly reiterate his election promises, saying that he wants to bring good jobs back, that Ford, Fiat, Chrysler, GM, Intel, etc. have all announced that they will invest billions of dollars in the US to create new American jobs. What will it then possibly mean for foreign direct investment into countries like India?
Well, I'm sure that foreign direct investment will come if, companies see that conditions in India are conducive, because it's not as though that investment takes away from jobs in America. Mostly it is to service the Indian market. So it's an add-on for those companies. It gives them additional markets and additional consumers, which finally go to build wealth in America. Now, if Mr. Trump succeeds in his effort to somehow push the US economy into a better momentum and to, reassure the middle class, then you might see that, again, some of this protectionism evaporates, because it has to do with the fact that, there's been a prolonged period of economic sluggishness. On the other hand, if it doesn't work, then you may see this aggravate.
Well, Meera Shankar, thanks very much for joining us on this special show and decoding the implications of President Donald Trump's speech, inaugural address, and what it could mean for countries like ours. With that, it is time for us to wrap up the CNBC TV 18 special. From all of us here, goodbye, and many thanks for watching.